MSNBC, the network for grad students with head lice, gleefully tweeted a prediction that right-wingers would despise a new ad featuring a biracial family. Their evidence? All those righties who mock biracial families, like these guys.
There on Governor Romney's knee is his adopted grandson, who is an adopted African-American child, Kieran Romney, and he captions for this one.
One of these things is not.
I think this picture is great. It really sums up the diversity of the Republican Party.
Oh, wow, I'm sorry. Those aren't conservatives at all. That's MSNBC, your one-stop shop for master race baiting. The tweet has since been bashired, removed by MSNBC, sent to parts unknown. But you gotta love how the right has responded, not with outrage, but with facts and with faces. Led by Michelle Malkin, dozens of conservatives happily tweeted photos of their own biracial families to the nasty network. That's how you kill a race baiter, with light and truth. And let's face it, no one else is going to do it. Not The Daily Show, CNN, Time, or Newsweek, if they still indeed exist. Bravo to those who crushed this bigoted bug so swiftly. Finally, what's with all this imagined hatred by the left? They claim there's a war on women as they wage war on women, threatening gruesome violence against Republican females like Sarah Palin and Kathy McMorris Rodgers. They assume terrorists are Tea Partiers when it turns out they're just another brand of anti-West campus radical. And they ridicule the right as bigots, as they themselves stereotype so viciously. Congratulations, leftists. Turns out you were the villains you were waiting for. KG, I got to hand it to Michelle Malkin because, she got on Twitter. She didn't, I'm tired of outrage. I like action. They just send pictures of your family to MSNBC, made them look really stupid.
I like her. I mean, she's provocative, but in a thoughtful way that makes sense. I mean, this was something she put together. I think it speaks volumes, they say, right? Picture worth 1,000 words. There you go. Take a look at this, a beautiful family. And, she makes a lot of sense. That's why she connects with people. And what do you say if you're MSNBC? I think you feel awful about yourself, the choices you're making, and, what their colleagues have done there.
Bob, MSNBC has apologized. Phil Griffin has apologized. But why should they apologize if this is something that they kind of do a lot of? I mean, it's who they...
I don't know. I mean, I have to think calling somebody a bigot, given my background and my dad's background in the civil rights, it's about the lowest form of conversation you can have. I'm just appalled by it. And particularly with so many kids out there that need a home. I mean... I don't care who adopts them, as long as it's a good family.
True, yeah.
So I give people credit who do that. And the idea you're mocking it, I mean, I took my share of shots at Romney, but I never would have done that about that. I mean, you just have to, you give the left a bad, and most of the left don't believe that, in fact. I find it appalling.
But what he's saying is a larger issue, which is that MSNBC, this is like recidivism. It's not just a one-off event. They're doing this. This has been multiple instances, and that's why it's a problem.
Well, if we have spent more time talking about NBC than everybody else in America combined, so I don't know why we need to spend a whole lot of time on them. I mean, look, you cannot have a network where you have that kind of thinking, and where you allow somebody like Greg Gutfeld, which is very good at doing it, and I don't blame him for that, by saying it's the leftists. Well, it's not all the leftists.
No, but the entire left spends all of their time attacking one news network, Fox News. And I think the exposure of the hypocrisy on the left is actually very refreshing for a lot of people. And Michelle Malkin, she's not afraid to do it.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of different communicators, all sorts of things to build a party, build a movement. But she is completely unafraid, and we're better off for it.
She's twitchy.
Well, conservatives attack MSNBC all the time, too.
Yeah, but there's a little bit different.
Yeah,
a little difference here. So Ed Schultz attacks a conservative. Martin Bashir attacks a conservative. Melissa Harris Perry attacks a Republican. Wagner attacks another Republican. And Phil Griffin has MSNBC have this blanket all righties and makes that shot and then says, oops, we were sorry. This is a serial offenders here going on, Bob. It's not like one of them does it and they all kind of say, okay, we're not going to let that happen again. It's happening. It's consistent. But Phil Griffin he kind of has a responsibility here to make some changes. Now that, by the way, that network is one step out of the scrapyard anyway, so no matter how much Rust-Oleum you spray on it, it's still on its way there anyway. But the point is, just oops, we're sorry, we didn't mean to have that tweet. he needs some blanket housekeeping. Martin Bashir, he allowed to step down. He didn't fire him. He allowed him to step down. Ed Schultz still has his show. Harris Perry, who's probably getting promoted. And Wagner just got a new spot at 4 o'clock. I mean, they're promoting these people.
I think it's also fair to say on the other side that there are some people at this table and around our own network who have said some of the rudest and crudest thing about the President of the United States. So I think MSNBC is way over the line. But let's not say this is a preserve of the left. Come on.
But Bob, I think the point is.
What did we say that was rude and crude about the President?
Oh, come on.
Oh, I've said a lot.
Oh, well, that's you.
But the weird thing about MSNBC is they traffic in making fun of people who are different. Aren't they supposed to be the people that defend people who are different? But they are the worst at it.
Hypocrisy.
The Big Ten, remember?
Yeah.
The inclusive, right? The inclusive network.
Yeah.
Unless you're from the right, then you're not included.
If I tell you, if my dad were around and alive today, he'd be the first one out front bashing this kind of stuff. He would have been appalled by it, and I don't blame him.
But you know what? It's not just MSNBC. You have the New York Times, who basically referred to Kathy McMorris Rodgers as a Stepford wife for her response, which is a cliched stereotype one uses to describe the typical Republican woman, boring, bland housewife. They can get away with it because they're always around the same people saying the same damn things.
Are you talking about the woman that gave the Republican State of the Union response?
Yeah.
Well, I would not call her Stepford wife, but I would call her void of any serious proposals. I mean, that's about the nicest thing I can say.
You know how hard that speech is? We think about that.
It was a terrible
So hold on.
speech.
You have President Obama walking, and everyone's high-fiving, kissing him.
You mean the State of the Union?
The State of the Union. Hold on. And
that woman who did the response?
No, but so 108 minutes in this big, 85 standing ovations, and then someone has to have the opposing view for 10 minutes in a quiet studio. I mean, that is really a no. They should. You know what the Republicans should say? You know what? We're not doing this anymore.
And actually, Bob,
stop doing it.
It's not a fair
that
fight.
was your view of it.
Yeah.
I've heard from a lot of women that I didn't expect that said stuff like this morning at the dog park. I heard somebody say, hey, I thought her speech was really good. This is a mom, independent-minded person, lives in New York, probably votes Democrat, but might be open-minded for the next go-around. So I don't think it's fair to her to be called names by the New York Times and MSNBC just because she might not know what a Carter cutlery knife is if it stabbed her in the leg, like other people get written about in the Vogue magazine.
I'm not going to go too far here because remember I had a comment about Bobby Jindal when he did his response to the State of the
They're not
Union.
good. They're never good, but it doesn't matter to compare it to the president's speech. The president's speech, by far, was considered empty of any serious proposals.
I would say next year, GOP,
across the board.
Reince Priebus.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Response.
No, that's not right.
Because the problem is it's not a fair fight. It's not set up or staged to be,
what Eric
and
said
so
is
it's a
right.
joke.
Why in the world they demand to have that is when you can't get anywhere near the pomp and circumstance and the rest of it, makes no sense whatsoever.
All right.
Well,
We got to go.
All right.
Moving
I'm so
on
debating to read this tweet from Laura Levites, but it's so disgusting.
Well, it's typical of what they say.
This is a woman that said she wanted to rip out the uterus of Kathy McMorris Rodgers and do something to it.
I know you didn't want to say that.
But I just did. But it's just a point that, we actually have to avoid what the left says because it's so repulsive.
Don't say. Well,
we didn't read the Bashir stuff.
You make it sound like we're some big monolith crowd marching in lockstep. It's just not the case. Most left people that I know find that stuff on NBC deplorable, and there are not many people who watch it. If it was it's so reflective of the left, you think there would be a bigger audience?
Yeah, maybe. All right. Coming up.